Hey, everybody, this is Kelly Anderson, Biohacker Mom. I'm here today with someone that I met just a few months ago, but I have been blown away by her. She's a dynamic businesswoman, and she is really out to help women entrepreneurs, and she's already helping me a lot. So I want to introduce to you guys Lissa Figgins from Illinois. And so, Lissa, I'll just let you go ahead and just introduce yourself and tell us whatever you want people to know.
Yeah, well, so good to be here, Kelly. I love when God brings the right people into our lives at the right time for the right reasons, even when we don't always know exactly all that that involves, right? And so it's been really fun to get to know you, to see your journey and hear your heart and your vision for serving the women that you're serving and how you're taking your story and using it in a way to bless others. So I love that. So my story, I was that girl who was just busy, right? Just busy doing. And I feel like looking back, my 20s was a lot of, starting a family, starting a career as a teacher, figuring out life and marriage and all those things. And then in my 30s, things started settling down. We had 3 kids, but I also had a husband who traveled a lot for what he was doing for work. And so I was oftentimes for extended periods of times a single mom and by myself. And so I just, and I'm a doer, right? I like to make sure that everybody's taken care of and all my T's are crossed and all my I's are dotted and all my boxes are checked. And so I really kind of fell into this just, get up in the morning, get the kids fed, get them to where they need to be, get them home, get them fed again, bathed, back in bed, and do it all over again. And so for me, it was really having 2 wake-up calls that really just kind of made me go, wow, like, how do I want to be intentional about living? The first one was a cancer scare, and that was in my late 30s. It ended up not being what they thought it was after having surgery. However, it was that reminder that I need to be taking care of myself, because if I could take care of everybody else and neglect me, I'm going to eventually not be any good to anybody else. Right. So that really started like this journey for me with health and wellness and diving into what does that look like and how do I be preventative? Because I didn't want that diagnosis one day. Right. Like I was blessed that it wasn't what the test ahead of time had shown, but I had a lot of friends that, were on the other side of it. And so I wanted to be preventative. I wanted to have longevity. I wanted to have, the energy and the quality of life moving forward. And then my second wake up call was the year I turned 40. And that was really more the inside, right, crisis, where it was more about how did I get here? I could see the wrinkles and stuff around the eyes and kind of thinking, wow, what just happened? But really the deeper questions started coming out, like, who am I? My life had been so much wrapped around my kids and my family and my household and all those things. And I was starting to see that, like, in not too much longer, kids were going to start leaving the nest. And then what was I going to do? Who was I outside of that? And so that really then, the health part of it was still going, but now I started really doing kind of that personal growth piece and really looking at, okay, so what is my purpose and what am I gifted at and what do I like? I didn't even know, like, what movies do I like anymore, because it's always what the kids liked, right? Or what food or things like that. And so I really just started that journey. And then along the way have just been inviting women in, as I see others who either want to be preventative in their health and wellness or want to be, living these fulfilling lives that are making a difference. I just said, hey, let's go on this journey together. Like, let's be intentional about how we're living. So we're not living by default like most people. Let's live by design. Let's really be, asking questions about where we want to be and then taking intentional steps towards that every day. So that's just kind of a little short version of that. And a lot of growth has happened since turning 40, which I'll be 49 here in about a month. So it's been a really fun journey.
So I'm right there with you. I'm 48 and won't be that long. I'll be 49, and I can really relate to the kind of losing your identity through your kids.
Mm.
And my daughter, she's 11, but I'm already looking out like I've only got 7 more years with her. I need to start creating a plan for myself,
Mm.
so I can totally relate to that and the health and wellness part. As we age, I think it starts for a lot of people to be kind of a scramble, like, oh my gosh, wait a minute. This is one area that I haven't been quite so good at. So tell us a little bit about, as far as the health and wellness goes, what kinds of things did you discover in this journey and kind of go off to develop?
Yeah, well, it started with food for me. And I would have told you that I ate healthy prior to that. And, by a lot of standards, I did. I mean, I grew up in a family where my mom cooked a hot breakfast and a hot dinner for us every day. So we were having breakfast at like oh dark 100 to get to school on time. I remember that. But, it was always, healthy. But yet, when I started learning more about just what things were healthy and really started reading labels, and you don't know what you don't know. But then here's like to say, once you know, you can't unknow. So once I started learning about like, what is this and what does this mean? And, if it's coming out of a can or a box or a package, man has gotten his hands on this and done something to change it. And it was interesting because I just ran across this book the other day. I grabbed this book called What the Bible Has to Say About Healthy Eating. And they gave a couple basic rules. And one of them was, eat food as closest to the way as God made it before man put his hands on it and tried to make it better, right? Like all the things we do to try to make it taste better or last longer or whatever is just adding all this processing that our body was not created to do. So I really started just going back to whole, fresh foods. And I honestly tried like all the things. I mean, I was raw for a while, so everything was raw. I was, vegan. I was vegetarian. I was dehydrating everything. My family would like look at me and be like, "What are you eating this week?" I mean, it was almost kind of like a joke because they were just seeing me trying all these different things. And, and I just was like, I don't know about you, but it just felt really overwhelming. I felt like I was putting it's important to put time and attention into it, but it was consuming way too much of me that it wasn't in a healthy place, even though I was pursuing health, which is kind of an oxymoron, right? And so I really finally came across a way of eating. I love it because it's simple. It's by a gal named Kelly LeVeque, and it's called Body Love. And it's centered around the Fab Four. So at every meal, you're making sure that you get protein, fiber, healthy fats, grains, and veggies. And it's actually really simplified my cooking, so I can quick whip up a protein shake that has all those elements in it. Or like for lunch today, I just made a kale bowl that had those elements. For dinner tonight, I'm going to roast some salmon and Brussels sprouts and use some olive oil for my healthy fat, and then have a green salad, with it as well. So it's actually just simplified things. And so I don't overthink eating anymore. And I feel so much better. Because my body's not having to process all this other stuff. So that's really kind of where I've landed, is just how can I do less and not spend as much time in the kitchen and get more nutrients out of what I'm putting in my body, right? Because it's an investment in our health.
So the theme of how can I do less, that I think when I first met you, it was on a call like this. And that was what resonated with me a lot, because I'm that girl that you were, the do. And in so many ways, I love it. I enjoy the doing part, but I can fully admit for me, and then there are a lot of other people who can admit it for themselves as well, that we're doing too much, pulled in too many directions. And when I watched you, it seemed like, hey, this girl has actually figured it out. She's figured out how to still get things done, but not be overwhelmed. It's calm, it's streamlined, and that's what I'm really working toward these days. And that's why I decided to join you as my coach, because I was like, this is what I want. So tell me a little bit more about that.
Yeah. So I'm going to grab an illustration that's behind me that you probably can't see on camera, because I love illustrations. I was a teacher, so you got to have something visual, right? So this is your life, right? And if you're watching this and you can see the video, I have a glass jar here, and it's filled with Skittles and oranges. So the Skittles are all like the little stuff of life, right? Those little tasks you have to do, that dust bunny in the corner, the laundry that needs to be folded, the groceries that need to be purchased, the bills that need to be paid. And, not that they're not important things, they do need to happen. maybe it's the scrolling on social media, maybe it's that Netflix binge, it's just all those little things in life. The oranges, well, we're talking nutrition, like we know Skittles have no nutritional value. In fact, I just heard this recently after I'd already created this, that Skittles are the unhealthiest candy for you. I don't really know why the person who was doing that podcast was saying that, but it just stood out to me. And I was like,
part of it's got to be the sugar content.
right. And the coloring and artificial flavors. I mean, if these were M&Ms, I'm going to tell you this thing would not be sitting in my office, right? But Skittles, I can walk past this all day long and it doesn't even tempt me.
Right.
So the Skittles don't really have any nutritional value, but they take up a lot of space, right? The oranges have the nutritional value. Like that's, got the vitamin C, it's got the antioxidants, it's, it's what's going to help us, in so many ways and invest in our health. And yet, just like with our food, in any area of our life, we tend to let life fill up with the Skittles, right? All the little things. We're putting out this fire, we're responding to this need, we're doing, and it's just running from one thing to the next. And then we want to put an orange in, and guess what? There's not room for many oranges because the Skittles have taken up so much space. And so you've probably seen this illustration before with like river rocks and pebbles, right? Where if you put all the pebbles in first, or if you put all the Skittles in first, and then you try to put the oranges in, there's not enough room for everything. But if you put the oranges in first, and then you pour the Skittles in, I'm not going to make a mess on my desk right now, but it literally everything fits. And that's what I love is like really looking at your life and saying, what are the Skittles in my life? They're really not adding a whole lot of value. They're really not moving me forward. They're really not, they're not filling me up so that I can really pour out. And maybe some of those things, they're going to go lower on the list, or maybe they're even not going to be on your plate, right? Like just like the handful of Skittles shouldn't be going in our mouth all day long because it's not adding any value. The same thing can be true of different things in our life, and really focusing in on what are the important things. What are the oranges, right? So one of them is going to be healthy meals, so deciding ahead of time what those are going to look like in your day, and making sure you're getting that water, that you need, and making sure your exercise is plugged into your schedule. And it may not be the very, very first thing in your day, but at least giving it a spot before the Skittles take up that spot is going to, make sure that it happens. And so it's always this process of evaluating, is this a Skittle or is this an orange, right? And then when I know which one it is, then I'm going to put it in the right spot when it comes to the priorities.
So how did you figure this out? How did you come to become organized? Because I mean, I have aspects of myself that are very organized, but because I'm juggling so many different things, it ends up being chaotic. Even as hard as I try to be organized about things.
Sure.
How did you get here?
Well, a lot of trial and error, a lot of falling down and dropping a lot of balls, a lot of saying, oh my gosh, this is chaos. This is not going to work. Also, I think there are different things in different people's personalities that some people are more naturally bent towards order and structure and things like that. And some people are much more of a, free spirit and that type of thing. So I tend to fall a little bit on that side. But when I was looking at it feels like when I'm letting life just be on default mode, then I don't really have control over where I'm going. Right. And so really it comes down to our desires. If you desire a healthy body, then you need to prioritize making healthy choices, right? If you desire, a bank account with $20,000 in it, then you need to prioritize bringing in income and watching your spending, right? If you desire a strong, relationship or, successful business or whatever it is, it starts from that desire. And then we start creating order around that desire, right? Because we want to work with the laws of nature, right? And so when you look at things out in the natural world, like there is order, right? There's cause and effect, there's the law of polarity, there's all these different things. And so I don't want my energy and my focus and my attention to be scattered to all these things that don't even really matter. So I started just asking questions like, what really matters right now? In fact, I was just reading something this morning that was talking about look at your list for the day and say, what are the 3 most important people or things on this? And then give them your best attention. Right. And everything else, it either can wait till later, or it can get, some attention at later in the day or at another time, that type of thing. So I think it really comes down to really A, knowing where you are, but B, knowing where you want to go. so that you can start making those choices. And then it's really small, like just what's the next healthy choice? So if we're talking health, right, what's the next healthy choice you can make? You know, for me, I've always got my water bottle with me. So I'm almost done with this one, and then I'll be, after this interview, go fill it up again for number 3, right? Or if I'm going to be preparing dinner, like what's the next healthy choice I can make? Or if I'm working on something in my home or in my business, just sometimes it's just starting small. And then you start seeing the snowball effect of those one little healthy choice, one little choice towards what you want at a time, that it always comes down to really deciding what you want.
Yes, definitely. I'm a biohacker. That's my brand. That's kind of the way I like to approach everything. And so when I first, everything that I look at, I'm like, oh, how do I look at that from a biohacking point of view? So when I first saw you, and you were talking about organizing your life, getting streamlined, knowing which way you're going. My first inclination was like, well, I love Lissa. She's amazing, but that's not biohacking, and so I have no use for that right now. Even though I knew deep down I have a very big use for it. But then I stepped back a little bit and I was like, this is totally biohacking, because anything that we can do to create order and calm in our lives is going to help improve our lives and actually help us live longer. So then I started thinking, well, actually what Lissa is teaching is actually really important. Do you have any thoughts for what you teach and how the benefit to health overall and anti-aging?
Oh my goodness, yes, right. And I again was that girl who was in the survival to do mode, right? I was on the hamster wheel, running, which felt good at the time, like I was being productive, but I was exhausted. You know, you can only keep going at a certain pace for so long.
Right.
And even for that person who's like, yeah, I just kind of sit on the couch and watch Netflix and whatever, like even in that, you're giving away your energy and your attention to all these other things and not able to focus in on what it is that you really want to see grow. So so I would say, like, remember, every choice you make is an investment in your future self, right? So everything you eat, everything you drink, the choices you make to rest, and sleep, and to do mindfulness, and all of those things are investing in your future self. So when you see it as an investment, you think about, gosh, I wish I would have really started investing back in my 20s, just coming out of college, and not waited till my 40s to say, oh, I should probably think about my investments because retirement's not that far away with my husband. Like, you have time on your side. So when it comes to like biohacking and stuff, like, make those investments in you and in your wellness, whether it's mental or physical, early on, because it has a compound effect. Just like those bank accounts do, it will compound that interest for you. And in the same way, every choice that we make that's not moving us towards that healthy version of us that we want to be is actually making a withdrawal, right? And if you keep making withdrawals out of your bank account, you're going to open up your bank account one day and go, oh my goodness, what just happened? And I think that's what happens to so many women when it comes to our health, right? We turn 40, we turn 50, we turn 60, or we have some diagnosis, we go to the doctor, whatever, and it's like, oh, where did this come from? Well, it didn't happen overnight, right? It was a series of choices. And so we're creating our results every moment, whether you know it or not, right? And so really being mindful of, what am I choosing? And is this moving me towards the healthiest version of me? And is my future self going to thank me for this? Or am I just pushing her off? Am I just saying, yeah, I don't really have time to do this for you right now, or I don't have time to think about you right now? So you start thinking about those things, and it changes how you start acting now. Because, now is the consequence of the choices I've made up till today, good, bad, or indifferent, right? Which is kind of good news, because that means that if I want to be in a different place tomorrow or 5 or 10 years down the road, we can do that. So that's, that's one of those things that we do, is just talk about, how do we make those choices? And, even when it comes to like clutter in your house, which I talk a lot about, like, how can we minimize the things around us? Even just something sitting on my desk. it's taking my attention. It's taking my, energy towards it every time I see it. And I think, oh, I should really do something with that. Oh, yeah, I was going to finish that or read that or give that to this person or whatever. So, just watching for what are those things that you're not even noticing are kind of just zapping, zapping energy, zapping, time, zapping money, zapping attention away from how you really want to grow.
Yeah, definitely. I'm trying to pay a lot more attention to the energy of stuff these
Mm.
days and try to just let it go, let it go, let it go, let it go. You saw my office right now, you'd be like, she's not letting it go. But I'm working on it. It's definitely a work in progress, but it is
And as you're
getting
doing
better.
that, here's my challenge to you and the listeners. Like, don't look at what you're having to let go of. Like, oh, it's almost like I'm holding on to this and please don't take it away from me because I'm gonna be without, right? Look at what you're gaining. You are gaining space. You're gaining space to breathe. You're gaining space to dream. You're gaining space to choose other things that are going to move you in the direction that you want to be because you're not going to have to maintain all the stuff that's around you, right? You're not gonna have as many things to dust or, to have to move or to go through or, to feel bad about or whatever. So yeah, that's awesome. And I mean, if I were to point the camera on the side of my office, I'm going through another purging process of just, okay, it's time to go back through things and see what am I holding on to that really is not what me with my goal achieved would need and want. And when you start, evaluating what you have based on you with your goal achieved, not you in your current place with your current results, but you with your goal achieved. Would she have this stuff? Would she hold on to this? Would she need this? Would she say this was important? Right? Those are great questions to ask and evaluate.
They really are. So, we just have a quick session today, which I'm sad about because I feel like Lissa and I could go on and on. But I'm going to fully admit that I signed on with Lissa, with her as my coach. And it's been what, 3 weeks,
Mhm.
something like that. And so far, I'm just loving it. And I love the approach of always thinking as yourself, thinking from the place of your goal achieved. What does that person look like? And getting really clear on that person and then viewing life from that vantage point. And I'm working on that a lot. And I want to encourage, anyone out there who is wanting to get a new perspective on how to move forward. Lissa is fantastic. Lissa and her team are just wonderful. And so I just want to put in that plug for anyone who is out there looking for a coach, looking for help with getting your life organized, getting a vision. What else would you like to add, Lissa, for what you offer in your
Yeah,
coaching?
I was going to say, let me just share a story because I love to tell stories because I think the visuals help people. So imagine that you lived on an island and you lived on the beach, right? The coast of the island. Every day you woke up and there was this, beautiful sands in front of you. You could see the ocean and the waves and all of that. There was this, great tropical forest that was behind you. And then there was this mountain in the middle of the island that it was, sticking up from behind that, all those palm trees and things like that, right? But you spent all of your life just down there on the island, right? And life was good. And there were so many great things that you loved about your life there. But one day, somebody came from another part of the island and was like, "Hey, did you know you can actually go up to the top of that mountain?" And you're like, "Seriously? Like all I could see was trees between me and that. I didn't think that there was a way for me to get there." Like, "Oh, okay." And so they invite you to come up there, right? And so you get up to the top and my family and I, we just got back from a trip. We were up on top of a mountain. And when you're up on top of a mountain and then you look out, like I want you to imagine that view. Like, what does the island look like now? Before all you could see was just sand and water, and that was all that was around you. Now you have this amazing view of not only the sand and the water, but all these trees, and you're seeing the animals, and you're seeing all the different things that, the rivers and streams that you couldn't see from your other place. And you're seeing, oh, there's a village over here. I had no idea that that was over there. And oh my goodness, this island is not so far from this next place. And there's that, but you couldn't see that if you didn't go up to the top there. And so that's really like what a coach is like. It's like, hey, because sometimes we get tunnel vision. We're just in our worlds and we're just blinders on and we're just head down and we're just, maybe survival mode or whatever. And we're just, all we can see is what's around us or we've always known, And so when I started working with a coach, I remember thinking like, wow, there's more out here that I didn't even know, right? So it doesn't mean you have to be in a bad place, but, we are created to always be growing, right? That is like we were created for expansion and growth so that we can continue to serve and pour out. And the problem is that so many women, especially, try to keep pouring out to the people in our life from an empty cup. And so it's so important. I love that you're investing in you because it makes you, better for yourself. It makes you better for your daughter. It makes you better for your clients. It makes you better for your audience here and for all the people that you serve because you are filled and you are healthy inside and out. And then now you can pour that out into other people. And so that's essentially what coaching is. And I love being able to create those experiences with women to help them push pause from all they can see around them here and like, hey, let's go up there. Let's like look out and see this vision of what's possible. And then let's lock arms and let's start going that direction and let's make it happen. And it's really a fun process. I will never be without a coach personally because it's done so much for me. And I love, helping women to see that they're worth investing in. So I've got everything from, hey, let's just do a quick call to get to know each other and talk about what might be cluttering up your life right now and keeping you from doing these things that are really on your heart to, hey, let's lock arms and be on this journey together and grow your goals and your mindset and all of that. So, LissaFiggins.com is my website. So if anybody wants to head there and check things out, I've got a free checklist there. So I'm a recovering to-do girl, like I said earlier. So I created this checklist called the Do Less, Live More checklist. So it's my alternative to a to-do list where it's really focusing you in on what matters most before your day starts. So you don't waste a bunch of time on Skittles, right? And then get to the end of the day and say, well, maybe tomorrow. How many of us have been on that plan, right? So that's on my website. And you can also go to lissafiggins.com/less and find that as well.
So website, LISSAFIGGINS.com.
Yep. And here's the way you remember it. It's Melissa without the M-E because it's not about me. So Lissa is Lissa.
All right. I've got it in the comments. So anyone out there who is interested, please look Lissa up. I am just thrilled to be working with you, Lissa. I'm very excited about where we're going to be going. And I already feel progress. I already feel more empowered than I was before. So I'm hoping any of you guys out there who see this, I hope that you will join forces with Lissa as well. And I know that you'll get a lot of benefit out of it. So we knew this was going to be short today, but it was definitely packed. Thank you so much, Lissa, for joining in today. I just really enjoyed talking with you, and I'm sure I'll have you back on again, and hopefully you'll hear from people. Anyone, if you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments. And that's all I've got for now. Anything else you want to add?
Oh, this is fantastic, Kelly. Whenever you can get people together who are growth minded, it's amazing what happens. It's like exponential growth happens. I will say this. Here's one of my favorite quotes, and I'll leave you with this. Never DIY your greatest priorities. For a long time, I was the DIY girl. I can figure it out. I'm strong. I'm smart. I'm capable. I can listen to the webinar. I can read the book. I can, take the course and all the things. And I got to a certain extent on my own, but really, and I know you're finding this too, when you get yourself in an environment and you're around other people who are seeking growth at that level, it just starts taking you to this, every morning, every day, I feel like, can I expand even more? Is this even possible to keep growing? And yet it does, it keeps happening. And that's because we have chosen to put ourselves in that environment and put people around us who are going to help be part of that.
I think the locking arms thing is very important. I'm definitely one of those people that for just so long, I was like, I'm just going to bare knuckle this, push my way through. I can do it on my own. And then finally I was like, I'm tired and I don't want to do it on my own anymore. That's not fun.
Yeah, it's way more fun
And
together.
yeah, it's not even fun. So why am I doing it? So yeah, it's much better way. So I encourage any of you out there who, you're wanting to just kind of push to that next level, to see your vision, then contact Lissa.
We love it.
All right. Thank you so much. Hope you guys have a great afternoon wherever you are. Thanks so much for tuning in. This is Biohacker Mom. I am at thebiohackermom.com. You can also see me on YouTube, Biohacker Mom. Hope you guys have a great afternoon. We'll talk to you soon. Bye bye.
Thank you.